With internet.
With some good shit, right? Hey, everybody.
Hello.
You guys having a good start of your winter quarter? Mine's fantastic. Thanks for asking. Give me a second. So what Joe and I decided to talk to you guys about today is Internet of Things. I want to pull these slides up. Who knows what Internet of Things is? How would you define it?
Devices autonomously connected with other devices on the internet.
Okay.
Human interaction.
Without human interaction? Is that what you said?
A large number of voices.
Okay. Anybody else have a slightly different definition?
Internet toasters.
Internet toasters. Right on. I like that. Very good covenant. Anybody else? Oh, there we go. This is part 3 of Cyberpunk, by the way. Thank you for having me back. I love coming here. I'm here all week now. What? You guys don't know what you're in for. It's like that scene in Watchmen. You're all trapped in here with me, right? All right, so Internet of Things. Who thinks this is like a brand new topic? Anybody been watching the news? CES, the huge consumer electronics, was what, last week, right? Samsung said by 2015, starting now, and then in 2020, 2025, right? You heard that? Like all their devices were going to be internet enabled. Everything they produce. Who in here has a smart TV? I have an LG. That thing's badass, right? No more like using my Xbox for Netflix. No more boxes for this or that. It's just all right in the TV. But it's internet enabled, right? So, who's been here before when I talk? Oh, lots of new people. Awesome. So I usually spit out some cool rules. This is my rule for today. Think this the whole time. Technology is not our adversary. Right? So that might be a little strange because we think of things like smart TVs, it's hooked up to the internet, who's going to hack my stuff? Whose stuff am I going to hack? No, nobody should be thinking that. Come on. Right? Technology is not our adversary. The huge, huge thing we have to remember is technology should be making our lives easier and better. More efficient, more effective. That's what technology should be doing. Right? So I'm not that much older than you, but I have friends that are like, man, it was better when we were kids. Are you serious? How could you say that? When we were kids, we had like the regular Nintendo, 8-bit. If you're into gaming, how much better is it? It's awesome. Right? I remember when I was a kid, and you had the little set-top box to get like Disney Channel, and you had to like click the buttons. I control my TV from my smartphone. I don't even have a remote anymore. Right? How awesome is technology? It's not our adversary. All right, so this is how I define Internet of Things. It takes your definition, mashes them up. I don't think anybody's wrong. This is one of those cool things where I don't think you can be wrong. Right? But we have to get it right. And that's really what I want to try to focus on today is where this rumble starts. Right? Everybody seen or heard of West Side Story, the play musical? Right? You got the cool people. Rumbling, right? It's Romeo and Juliet, come on. But we love that stuff as human beings. So, all devices, all connected, all the time. Imagine that. Imagine if all of our devices right now in this room could talk to each other, and they were doing it without our intervention. I like that little addition. Who likes that idea? Yeah, right on, right? I love it, and I'm going to show you why I love it. I'm interested in if you love it, why you love it, and if you don't love it, because I bet there's some people in there that don't, why you don't love it. We got to figure this out, because check this out. This is one of those things where it's already happened. Forget CES. Anybody in here from the Netherlands? All right, like especially in the Netherlands, this is like 10 years old now. They're already doing this stuff. Right? Not like a smart TV getting you Hulu. Right? They have the Internet of Things everywhere. And it's huge for their society. Oh, and the big thing too, don't forget the data. Who in here is into privacy? Anybody in here work for the NSA or want to work for the NSA? All right, so listen, I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to explain a little bit of it because we got to be concerned about that too. So how does that kind of spying work? Pattern of life, right? Huge data sets that right now you have to actively opt into for the most part. Who in here does not have a smartphone? Anybody? Right? Okay, so you've actively chosen, whether you realize it or not, right, to not participate in that technology. When we start talking about Internet of Things, it's passive. There's no not doing it. Right? How many people have smart devices on their wrists? Does it talk to your smartphone?
Yeah. It'd be useless otherwise.
Right? Do you sync it to anything else, like your PC or no?
It doesn't work very well for that.
Okay, so you got like your own little self-contained ecosystem. You have an IoT too. Smart device to smart device, right? All right, check this out. So I was talking about like CES, it was the rage. Oh, we're gonna have all this IoT stuff. Let's break this down. IoT is really just T, it's just things, right? We tag on Internet of, A, because we like prepositional phrases, of, right? But Internet defines something for us, okay? Now, I think this is part of the cool part. It's also a big down part of it. We know how to Internet stuff, right? We know how the Internet works, we know how to build the Internet, we know how to run the Internet, because let's face it, the US runs the Internet, right? You can't escape it, we run it. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but it's a fact. So as a country, we know how to do this stuff, so we just tag the names on, right? I was listening to NPR last week, like right when Joe and I started emailing each other. And it was about the CES stuff, and I don't remember the host's name, but I like the guy's interview stuff, because he really grills people. And he was asking this dude, hey man, you're at CES, what do you think? And the guy said, oh, IoT, and this and that. And they gave this example of the dude's phone being able to unlock his front door when he walks up, right? So just passively, the door unlocks for him, so he doesn't use a key. Or a biometric or a pin or anything, it just unlocks, right? The presence of the phone. And then when the door unlocks, the lights would turn on inside, automatically. Now, who in here thinks that's bad? Be honest, raise your hand. Anybody think that's a bad idea? Kind of?
Yeah.
Kind of? A lot of people on the fence. Why do you think it's bad?
In case someone steals your phone, they can get into your house.
Okay. Do you guys have the same concern? Something different?
Just like
Accidentally.
There's just so many opportunities for malicious users, like for hackers, like, why can't you just open your door?
Sure. No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Somebody steals your house key, they can open your door.
Yeah.
Hey, check this out. If you weren't here the last time, I'm not going to go too deep into this because I do have a class at 1 o'clock, so that's why I'm kind of like jumping in deep so we can get to this conversation stuff. Check this out. Scale this out to robots. That's all the rage. Like I saw this morning that Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk signed a piece of paper saying, we pledge that we're going to be able to control sentient machines. Are you shitting me? You can't control me, fool. How do you control a machine? Come on now. And you signed a piece of paper? What does that do? You think a machine's going to care? Get out of here. So, yes, there's some downsides to it. But what's the benefit? Because if there's a big enough benefit, why wouldn't we do it as a species? Think about technology and how it enables our lives. Technology should be freeing you up to do the cool shit that you want to do. Not the stuff that you think is inane. Right? If you don't want to work in a factory, you shouldn't have to be trapped in a factory. This ain't 18th century Europe. Right? You should do the stuff you want to do that moves you forward as a being and moves our species forward. Right? So check this out. Because I think it's a great idea. This is kind of the bits and bytes we're talking about. 50 billion devices. Can anybody, I can't conceive of that number. 50 billion. That's a lot of zeros, friends. A lot of zeros. How many people are there? Right now there's only, what, 7, 8 billion? Maybe we'll get to 10, depending on how things work out for some of us. Right? Depending on where you live, which is unfortunate, but, right? There's some variability to that. So at a minimum, you're going to get 3 more devices. Right? Think about that. So that includes, like, I just had a kid in October. My kid's like 3 months old. That's 5 devices for her. Think about that. She can't use them. But I will. So now I got 10. What am I going to do with them all? Stare at the blinking lights? All right, so, and I mentioned the research. So this stuff is not like old. We know how to do this stuff. Again, that's part of the cool part, part of the bad part. So let's do some math. Check this out. Right now, you can buy these devices that are internet enabled. They can participate in IoT. So you don't have to memorize the list. This is just a list of stuff that I either have or I think I would like to have. My birthday's this month, my friends. Anybody want my Amazon wish list? All right, so check this out. Why is this good? Why do I want my door automatically unlocking? So let me back up real quick. Everybody know what RFID is?
Yeah.
All right. We've had that stuff forever. Does anybody remember the controversy when the new passports came out like 10 years ago? And all the passports have RFIDs embedded? And everybody was worried that you're going to get jacked? All right. I dealt with RFID a lot in warehousing, right? So my new people, I used to work for a huge restaurant company doing security. My primary focus was credit card security, PCI DSS compliance, but I had to deal with a bunch of other stuff too. Part of what I had to deal with was the physical security of the distribution. Right? Anybody eat Carl's Jr.? I worked for their parent company. Worked. All right, check this out. This is my daily ritual. I'm a habitual being. I'm habitual because I'm lazy. Right? I don't like doing the same thing all the time. So I try to reduce what I have to do all the time to very minimal activities. And I try to be very efficient at it. That's why? So I can get on and do this cool stuff like talking to you guys, right? So, if I have to shave, brush my teeth, that's post-shower, of course, right? Eat my breakfast, which entails making coffee, whatever else. I got all this stuff I got to do, right? And all I can think of in my mind is I want to get to Cal Poly. I want to get on campus, get in my office, and start writing. I want to start reading. I want to start grading. I want to start talking. Right? So I want to minimize this. How do you minimize manual effort? You automate it. Right? You automate it. That's what IoT does. It automates stuff. Right? So check this out. Do the math. How much time do I save per day, per week, per month, per year? Do the math. How many people are in this room right now? I don't know. 30, 40 of us? Multiply by that, by day. So I had this epiphany one time. I have a stepson, he's 14. A couple years ago, he's playing some baseball, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all these parents in the crowd. And I'm thinking to myself, we're here for 2-3 hours minimum. Call it another hour depending on how much you have to commute. That's 4 or 5 hours now, right? Do that math. And we're all just sitting there. What are we doing? Watching baseball. Now I'm not frowning on that, right? Hobbies are hobbies, pastimes are pastimes. We need leisure times. Believe it or not, you need to decompress. But when you start doing the math of the activities that we do every day, why would you not want to automate that stuff? So if my toothbrush, because my toothbrush, I use an electronic toothbrush. Anybody have like those Oral-B's? Right? And that toothbrush knows when I hit the button, you run for 2 minutes exactly every single time, and you stop. Because somebody said, hey, it's a good idea that you can brush your teeth for 2 minutes. I think it was the person that invented those heads that wear out.
Yeah.
They figured out that mean time to failure, right? And you got to replace it. But anyway, planned obsolescence is another conversation. But they figured it out, 2 minutes. Okay, man, I'll buy into it. And I don't like manually brushing. It's inefficient. I don't want to do it. I have better things to do with my hands, like surf Reddit when I'm brushing my teeth. Because I do it. Anybody else do that? That's one of the best things of having a tablet. Because I can just lay it down and hold that thing, and I'm clicking, right? Like I'm a rock star. All right, so my toothbrush knows, okay, man, you're 1.5 minutes into your 2-minute brushing. So I'm going to fire off a message to the toaster, and I'm going to make your toast. I'm going to start it, right? Now, that obviously presumes the bread's already in there. We're not that far yet. I don't have Jeeves the butler robot. It's my life. I just had that conversation with her this morning. She's like, I'm really getting tired of making your breakfast. I'm not. It tastes good. Thank you. All right, so my toothbrush says, all right, 1.5 minutes in, send this message. Toaster, start the toast. Toaster says, hey, toast is about this brown. Do you like it? I'll crank this temperature up because I like my toast like burned. I like that ashy taste. All right, so I'm almost burning. Let me fire off the message to the coffee maker. I got to brew that stuff. Okay? I like really dark, bitter coffee. Getting a theme here, right? What else do I got? Oh, so anybody ever spill stuff? Man, I'm horrible at it. Because you know why? Because I'm too busy surfing Reddit. And I'm laughing at those cats, man. Right? Oh, get me out of here. So I spill some coffee. Well, my coffee cup, if it's enabled, knows how much coffee's in there, right? By weight and volume. So when it's less than my average sip, it knows I spilled, right? Because my floor's not enabled. I'm not that advanced yet. So what if I can send a little message to my Roomba to come out and suck that coffee up so I don't fall down? Or worst case scenario, my dog comes over and tries to drink it. So I have a big English Mastiff, right? And that dog's like a vacuum cleaner. You hear her come into the kitchen and she just, whatever, man. And she'll drink coffee. And then she gets all spazzy. And big dog, right? Not good. Now, to me, that's super cool. Super cool. Anybody think that's not super cool? What do you think? Think of, right, do the math real quick, and let's say I shave an hour off every day. So now I'm at 7 hours saved a week.
I think small at first, we get it.
Yeah, right? So me, myself, let's just say for the sake of argument, easy math, I'm at 7 hours a week saved, just through little simple stuff like this. Would you do it? All right. I would. Here's the bad part of awesome. Right? We are great at figuring out ways to not do what we're supposed to be doing. So, like, you stand back and you look at this. What's the first question that comes to your mind? What's the first thought? Let me ask it that way.
What were you thinking?
The people driving around?
Yeah.
All right, so check this out. My first thought is, why the hell did you put a little barn right there?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to control? I mean, I don't know. Right? And why would you put it there without a fence on the grass? Because, I mean, come on, man. What are people going to do? How many people here walk across the grass instead of the sidewalks? I bet just about all of us do, right? Why? Because we're lazy. Because it's more efficient. It makes more sense to do it that way. So check this out. I'll get somewhere with this, okay? But you got to understand human psychology a little bit. We instinctively know what the path of least resistance is. We'll figure it out every single time. Right? You hear it all the time. Users suck. They don't follow policy. No, dummy. You don't write policy to the users. The people that built that road, the people that built the sidewalks, didn't watch people walking around or driving around first. They built the roads and the sidewalks, and then they try to control us onto it. Right? Anybody else think that's backwards? It's super backwards to me. I'm not the expert. I'm just riffing here, right? But to me, it's backwards. Same thing when I had to write policy and do governance. Why are you creating all this stuff and then telling people you got to follow it? But you don't know what their business process is. And then you're like, it's your fault that you click on links in email. No, why does the email allow it? Why are we sending files in email? We have FTP. Come on, man. It doesn't make any sense. So, check this out. Top issues. This is where we're going to rumble. Because a big part of me is like, yes, technology wins. My little Roomba will drive around and soak up that coffee, and I don't have to deal with it. I can just jet. Later. Right? One of my biggest gripes with our technology right now is that it's not engaging. We're getting there. We're getting a little better about it. Right? But at best, what do we get? We get like a vibration. Your smartwatch vibrate? Like at first I got this is the Garmin Vivo Fit. Right? Tracking my steps, my heart rate. I'm into data. I like tracking all kinds of cool stuff. Right? And I'm not like the healthiest person. So it's supposed to motivate me. The way it motivates me is it has these little red lines that grow when I'm inactive for a certain amount of time. But I got to look at it. Come on, what am I going to do? I'm going to train myself to not look at it. Why? Because I got better things to do. Now, if this thing like shocked me, how long do you think it would take me to train myself to get up before the shock? Right? Here's an example. Anybody in here use alarm clocks to get up? Lots of people, right? I've never used an alarm clock. Never. You know why? Because I hate being woken up. I hate that jarring. If I need something to wake me up, I'll put on like the crescendo music or something, right? But that makes me want to kill somebody. It's It's bad, right? In fact, if you look at the research, a lot of people that die from a heart attack in the early morning or at night, it's from work line. Right? It's like some Vikings are breaking back into the hut. Our little brain remembers that. We gotta get in action. It's cruel, it's punishment. So, to avoid that negative stimulus, I trained myself just to say, Jason, get up at 6:30. And I close my eyes, and I open my eyes at 6:30, or thereabouts. Plus or minus 15, right? Whatever. Most of the time that works pretty well for me. And I avoid that negative stimulus. It engages me, right? In a way. So, IoT can engage us. How can it engage us? Because it knows us. It is us. Think about that. You don't have to press buttons. My man here hit it on the head when he said without human intervention. It tracks us all the time, passively. Now, if you wanted to surveil somebody, what would you be interested in? Their IoT data, right? So check this out. Some of the big issues in security when we look at IoT, authentication. Not only how do I authenticate to my front door when I'm in that near field, like RFID, maybe Bluetooth at the extreme, as we know it right now, right? And how does my door authenticate me, and how do I authenticate my door? Now that kind of sounds strange, and I'm not talking about like drunken stupor, but you need to know that it's your door, right? I don't mean that you don't know that it's your house, but the device. How do you know that that's your device that you put there? That it's not like an evil clone, right? How do your devices know each other? How do they know they're not evil clones? Now there's some cool stuff that people are working on, especially in the European Union, like based on proximity. But here's the thing. So we're going to talk about a couple issues, get into some details, see what you guys think, but keep this in mind. Everything that I've seen people try to do right now with security, and we'll get into privacy in a minute, is based on what we know how to do. Now, what happened yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's real or not, I'm not going to judge it, but CENTCOM got whacked, purportedly, allegedly, right? How well does what we know how to do work?
Apparently not that well.
Right? I'm not going to judge or get into whether or not Sony really got breached by North Korea, but how well does what we know how to do work?
Not very well.
I would tend to agree, sir. I would tend to agree. We've been doing this for like 100 years now. No joke, right? Defense in depth, CIA, whatever you want to throw out as acronyms for security. We know how to talk about it. We know how to build devices to help us do it. But it never seems to really work too well. Yeah, man.
It's kind of like antivirus. Doesn't work until somebody recognizes the strand.
Right? And I'm not hating on that. There's still a place for it. There's still functions for firewalls. But when you look at it conceptually, right? You guys have been, some of you have been hanging out with me for a while. You know I'm big on concepts and abstracts, right? Conceptually, it's the giant fail boat. That's how we know what to do. We know how to fail. So when you get this new paradigm of IoT, you got all this cool stuff going on that makes all this data, that's a huge pattern of life, that has access to you. Okay, check this out. What if I had like an embedded defibrillator or a pacemaker, right? Now, those things emit data, right? When you go in now, I don't have one, but I know people that do. They're like my parents' age. You can go in and they just hold a wand over it, and they can read the data off of it. It's no different than this, right? So what if, when I'm at home, in my IoT, I call it the IoT field or the IoT bubble, right? All my devices can interact with that. So that my phone knows that if that device is failing somehow or something's irregular, it'll just call 911. I don't have to dial it. I don't need that. My phone, they can't get up device, right? You don't need it anymore, right? What if your smartwatch, through its accelerometer, could tell if you fell down the stairs? It can do it. I mean, think about a Wii controller.
Yeah.
It knows where you're at in four-dimensional space. Add time in, right? Because it can track that. That's pretty badass. But here's something I think about. Anybody into augmented reality?
We are.
Anybody play Ingress? Yeah. I gotta track you guys. I need some partners, maybe I'm trying to level up.
In the BSC, they have the all of the on the walls like Clay Ingress, join resistance, join.
I'm on the Enlightenment. What about you guys? Right on. Right on. I'm like a level 2 man, and I keep getting jacked. I feel like anyway, man, I'm gonna go too far. Anyway, so all these devices can do all this stuff, right? But one of the things I'm into, like with augmented reality, which ports into IoT, is the integrity of the data feeds. So, okay, now we know we got to authenticate each other, not only as human beings but devices. And that's all intermingled. Okay, we do not know how to do that. Let's just get it straight right now. We don't know how to do that well. Okay, and let's further agree, since we talked about it, that trying to use what we do have, come on, man, that's folly. Maybe in the short term, that's a nice bridge, but we got to do something completely different, right? What about the integrity of the feeds? Because it's one thing to take like an IP camera, right, like a baby monitor, and replace it with a Rogue one, right? That's one thing. That might be trivial to detect in a number of ways. But what if I can do something to the data feed? Like on those great hacker movies when they like fake the camera footage, right? What was the last Mission Impossible? They like had that movable screen that faked the hallway or whatever. That was crazy. When you really think about it conceptually, that's a data integrity problem, right? The cameras couldn't figure out that that was a false image. So, like, what if I have a vault in my house? I don't, right? But if I did, and I had a camera watching it because there's valuables in there, and somebody could hijack that feed, man in the middle of it, let's say, right? And falsify the data. And I think my vault's fine and somebody's in there. What if somebody steals my Roomba? Come on, come on. Because people will do it, right? All right, so integrity of the feeds, what are we going to do about that? We know how to do checksums. That we do know how to do well, right? We know how to file integrity check the hell out of everything. Will that work in IoT? Remember, these are low power, low CPU devices. Anybody in here play with Arduinos? Right? These are like a little lower spec. A lot of this stuff is like lower spec than an Arduino, but that's about it, right? Arduinos are badass. I love them, but you ain't doing number crunching on them. They're not that powerful right now, right? So how are you going to do all this crazy checksum of every message that comes in and out of that device? I don't know. What about access control? Resilience. I love this one. Check this out. So for years, decades now, we've been running around, us technologists, right? You got to have a firewall. You got to have this. You got to have AV. You got to do this. And what are we doing? In my opinion, we're just creating a bigger attack surface. It's oxymoronic. It's non-intuitive, right? It's like the policy stuff to me. Why would you do that? It's just more stuff for people to attack. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise. I don't know how original that thought really is at this point. Look at the news. Look at the news. How does everybody get hacked? First of all, it all comes over the wire. It all comes over the wire, right? Whether it's emailed in, that's a prime one, or the attacks come in right off the network. There's no more sneaker net, right? Nobody's like coming in under your desk and sticking a blowjack in it. Come on. You don't need to. Why would you do it? That's too much risk. You're going to do it, right? So, how do we create these embedded devices in such a way that they're resilient to those kind of shenanigans? It's a massively different paradigm. You can't talk TCP/IP anymore. Forget version 6. Come on. We just increased the address size. We didn't do anything with the security. It's trivial. So what are these devices going to speak that enables them to be resilient? I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. Don't look to me. But I think about it, right? You're all thinking about it. Everybody got really quiet. Because we know what happens. You stick things on the internet, they get attacked. We know what's going to happen. So here we are proliferating it, five a piece, minimum. And we want to enjoy the benefits, but I mean, what happens? So anybody here have a van, not like the A-Team van, but a vehicle area network? People love Tesla. I love Tesla, right? I can see myself driving a Tesla easily. and that thing could easily jack into my IoT sphere at home, right? It has the technology for it. Elon Musk isn't done, he knows what's coming, right? But if that car's not resilient, and all you've got to do is penetrate my IoT bubble in my house, and then you can infect my Tesla car? Think about this. All right, so how many gamers I got here? Lots. All right, how many people either stream on Twitch or watch Twitch feeds? All right, how many people are familiar with the phenomenon of swatting? So think about this. Now, like in esports, Dota, LOL, huge prizes at stake. So remember this psychology thing where we'll always find the shortcut as creatures. We'll always find the shortcut. So what if we have full IoT and Joe's my competitor at Joe's group and I have the Pittman group, and we're like leading think tanks in this field, right? And we're fighting for business. And I know Joe drives a Tesla. And I manipulate the feed for, let's say, the battery, right? So that it looks like it has more power than it really does. And I know Joe has a big meeting in LA. Anybody ever try to drive to LA? You see where I'm going with that? Now, that's a dark side, right? I don't think that should prevent us from doing this. But if we don't start building those devices now to consider that, what are we going to do? So how do you make a car resilient to that kind of stuff? Think about that. I want to talk about it. I want to hear what you guys think. So if you have an idea, shout it out.
What if since we're talking about IoT, like say that example, with the car, it dies, wouldn't your IoT still automatically recognize that the car is dead and distribute the message to like the meeting?
Hopefully. Yeah.
It's almost like it's self-recovering, like even though there's a mistake, it just self.
That's resilience, right?
Yeah.
Right. And we know that's one thing we do know how to do from a networking perspective. We know how to build resilient, self-healing networks. You had an idea?
Well, I'm just considering that things like the battery feed, we wouldn't have to have reason to manipulate them. So they were like stored in a secure, almost like black box or a different network disconnected from your main feed, and you had just a read that read from it only.
Okay.
Then you couldn't manipulate that. Well, you could manipulate the read, but you wouldn't be able to manipulate the car itself, the feed.
Okay. Maybe. I think it's a good idea. What if, so this is like the level I think on, because those are good ideas. Okay, check this out. I'm going to go on another example, and then we're going to go on a little bit to privacy. Why do buffer overflows exist? And I don't mean this as a trick question. To me, they exist because the compiler allows it, right? Forget about training devs to do secure coding and do data validation, input validation, all that crazy stuff. SQL injection is kind of the same thing, right? That stuff exists because the language allows it, the compiler allows it in the case of C, right?
The processor allowed it.
The processor allows it, right? When you really think about it, I was going to think another example is going to be too deep. When you really think about it, those behaviors are anomalous, right? Think about it. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as a compiler.